I'm Dr. Asper Baroutsis from the Institute for Educational Research at Griffith University, and I wanted to share with you some of my recent research. What would you think if you read a news story about a school's NAPLAN results where the article suggested that the school was punching well above their weight? And what if I added that the school was in an economically disadvantaged location? I was interested in analysing the language that was used in news stories when the articles were referring to NAPLAN results of schools in areas that were impacted by poverty. I used the notion of a metaphor, or more broadly, a metaphoric concept. So this related to when words and phrases in a story were used figuratively rather than literally. And I was only interested in metaphoric concepts that were referring to a spatial idea. I analysed news stories in Australian newspapers, and I found 35 news articles in 9 newspapers that used 151 metaphoric concepts. The spatial concepts were grouped into orientation metaphoric concepts. These were about direction. Area metaphoric concepts that referred to location, and movement metaphoric concepts that referred to movement. And you can see by the breakdown in percentages that most of the metaphoric concepts were focused on orientation. The orientation metaphoric concepts were about children's performance on NAPLAN and how children or schools or states and territories were progressing. These metaphoric concepts were framed using direction. For example, up, down, high, low, above, below, over, under, best, worst, increase, decrease, in front of, behind. And you can see in the example here, there was this notion of climbing out of poverty. The area metaphoric concepts were about where children lived, so the locations, the suburbs, the boundaries, and those that were inside and outside of these spaces. These metaphoric concepts asked if a postcode determined children's NAPLAN results. And you can see here in the example the notion of postcode destiny. The movement metaphoric concepts referred to NAPLAN results themselves and the changes to these results. They drew on hierarchies like top 10 lists or distance, so as the example here suggests, tackling the issue of falling results or declining results. The metaphoric concepts foreground certain perceived realities about schools in locations of poverty. When this imagery is negative, it can stigmatize individuals and communities and produce stereotypical and deficit understandings of children and young people who are living and learning in these areas. So if as educators or journalists or politicians or parents, we are affronted by the metaphors that suggest that children in poverty are punching well above their weight, then we need to change the language that we use, because clearly word choice matters. You can read my full article in the Australian Geographer Journal that's published by Taylor and Francis. Thank you. Bye.